Good morning. Welcome back to the Football Terrace. Breaking news this morning when everybody's opening their newspapers, mainly digitally in this day and age, it must be said that this week it is expected that a formal bid of £1.8 billion is expected from Daniel Ek for a formal takeover of Arsenal Football Club. This comes just a few hours after Thierry Henry confirms that the money is there, that the Spotify billionaire has made contact with club legends about helping to run the club should the takeover be successful. What we want to do is, of course, gauge your opinions, but also delve into whether or not this formal bid will actually materialize into a takeover. There's so many contrary reports out there at the moment, some suggesting, like on the Mail on Sunday, that the club is, in fact, been on the market for 2 years, just that there's been no bid that's actually met the valuation of the owners. And then there are other reports, primarily coming from the Kroenkes themselves, that they are not going to sell. The same could be said for Manchester United and their proposed takeovers as well. We're very, very privileged this morning because we are joined by football financial expert Kieran Maguire, who's here with us this morning. How are you?
I'm all good, thanks, Terry. It's a bit wild outside, so I've been out with the dog and come back to yet more breaking football stories.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, the weather here is mad. Went out this morning, bins are everywhere. I washed my car. I wish I hadn't done. It's just covered. First world problems living in the countryside. It's a madness today. And yes, storms on and off the pitch as well. Obviously, we don't need to go over old ground. We know what's happened with the Super League. We know the pressure that fans are currently putting on their clubs, namely Arsenal and Manchester United, to get either mass overhaul and change or takeovers at the football club. We'll touch on Manchester United a little bit later, but when it comes to Arsenal, Thierry Henry last night talking about, the money's there. Daniel Ek is 100% serious about buying the football club. That has then led to reports this morning of a formal bid of £1.8 billion set to be made at some point this week. Someone suggested Friday. I'm not too sure where that actual days come from. What's your take on the Arsenal situation and the likelihood of this sale going through?
I'm a little bit cautious, and the reason why I say that is that if you're going to conduct business negotiations, conduct them privately. If we go back to the acquisition of Manchester City by Sheikh Mansour, of Chelsea by Roman Abramovich, they just came from nowhere, and the deals were done privately, and then they were signed and sealed off, and the clubs then moved forwards. Conducting negotiations via social media isn't necessarily the best way to do things, and also from my perspective, I don't see what's in it for Stan Kroenke, because if he effectively bought the club for around about 1.8 billion when he bought out Alisher Usmanov's share of Arsenal a few years ago. And I honestly think he'll be looking for a profit on the deal. Otherwise, why sell? Unless he just wants to, completely terminate his relationship with football. But his son seems very keen on some type of relationship with Arsenal. He seems to be a big fan, and that could be an influencer as well.
Yeah, I understand that. My sort of thoughts on this have been very much, I understand there may have been some sort of asking price in the past that somebody didn't meet. I understand that these protests are putting pressure on owners, but unless they're making a substantial profit from a sale, or the fans are voting with their wallets and they're looking to deteriorate the value of the football club, there's still this, in the back of my mind, there is still this element of, I can't see why any of these billionaires sell.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing we could potentially accelerate a sale at the prices involved is that these owners have been working on Super League for a few years now, and they all anticipated the value of the clubs going up, especially once they started to sell their own broadcasting rights. They wouldn't have to worry about winning matches in the Premier League to qualify for the tournament, so that would allow them to reduce the investment in players, which could save money, which would generate more profits, and of course profits go to the owners. So that ship seems to have sailed at present, and therefore that will have an impact. We saw what happened to the Manchester United share price following, first of all, the announcement and then the cancellation of Super League within the space of 48 hours. That might therefore reduce the potential gains that some of these owners were looking for, and therefore they might be now willing to sell at a lower price. Or it could be that they are working as we speak behind the scenes on Super League Mark II.
Yeah, there are a lot of talks of a sort of British Super League bringing in. I actually think Scottish football may get, as long as there is jeopardy and the opportunity for everybody to eventually get into these leagues, I see more of the clubs signing up. I look at the Super League and think, if everybody could have got into it and there was a way of people being relegated from it, I actually think you'd have got a lot more of a universal buy-in to the idea. I don't think any of the clubs are married to the Premier League or married to the Champions League. It does seem to be, well, what's best for us financially? What can help progress us as a football club? And is it competitive? And I think that competitiveness is there. And they've learned from the mistakes of, I almost feel like the wishy-washy approach and the sort of elitist nature of the first Super League. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 12 to 18 months, there is another proposal that's where they kind of sort of put the fans at the forefront and talk about how it's about growing football. And it could cause problems. Do you think it's likely that legislation could come in? I did read your article in the Times, and I saw the headline was rather hyperbolic compared to what you had said around forcing the Glazers out of Manchester United. And I saw you tweet about that. But do you think it's likely that the government may come in here and put in some type of legislation that gives fans more of a say at board level?
Well, the government has now set up the terms of reference for the fan-led review of football governance and finance. That's going to be led by Tracy Crouch, the former sports minister. I think it's fair to say that she's held in high regard, both within Parliament itself, but speaking to people sort of connected from fans groups, they seem to think that she did a good job. She is a sports person herself and is aware of the unique place that sport plays in our lives. If that flows through to central government, and again, the sports minister, Oliver Dowden, he seems to be on board with regards to providing protection. And I think that's what the game needs most of all, protection from owners who are self-serving rather than seeing themselves as custodians of football clubs. We could have some form of legislation which would treat football clubs as the equivalent of heritage assets, and therefore their ownership and their protocols would have to be approved at some level, ideally by some sort of football regulator in this country who is independent, who can see the broader issues rather than the profit maximization, which was the sole motive behind Super League.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you've mentioned in your article, if there's a way that fans can veto certain decisions and have more control, these are the types of things that could prompt owners to potentially think, okay, well, I'm not getting out of this now what I want, so let's look to cash in and make as much money as we can from the sale of a club. And when you look at Manchester United, bought for circa £790 million. Even selling them at 2 billion, 2.5 billion makes them a colossal amount of money. In terms of Manchester United's sale, do you think the kind of protests and the kind of energy that was demonstrated on Sunday, will that make an impact in the way that people like the Glazers view the fans and view selling the club?
I don't necessarily think so. Joel Glazer, who is sort of the main driver of the Glazer clan, he's spoken twice in 16 years. He doesn't attend matches, even if they were taking place in front of a paying audience. We saw the protests and the creation of the magnificent FC United of Manchester, the only club in Manchester to pay the real living wage, which I don't think reflects well on either Manchester United or Manchester City. We've seen the green and gold campaign come and go. Sporadic protests, yes, matters did crystallize to a slightly different level on Sunday, but the next time United play at home, there will be more security. I'm still staggered that the security was so lax on Sunday, given that I knew what was going to happen, and I'm not even a United fan. Why did United? They're either hold the fans in contempt or think that they can't organise themselves. I don't think it reflects well on the club at all. So I can't see the Glazers have got ridiculously thick skins. They know that they're not popular. Never bothered them in the past. Why should it bother them in the future? Yeah, we're not dealing with football people here.
I couldn't agree more. And listen, I think as part of me as a fan, 95% of what I've seen at all of these protests so far, I think have been so nice to see fans caring. Of course, there are always going to be some unsavory incidents at these events, because when you get that amount of people together, there's always a bad apple or two. But I don't think that should reflect the majority that were there. We had our own, our very own KJ, one of our Man United fans, sort of on ground level, filming, recording, interviewing people, and the atmosphere was very nice. But my message has been clear all along. I think these protests should be, they're almost symbolic, but the fans have got to do something financially. If we all know that they care about making profits only, how do you impact someone who only cares about making profits? You stop the profits from coming in. I suppose the problem we have as fans is we're not consumers of Man United. Most of us are not consumers of Manchester United or Arsenal, meaning people are still going to renew their season tickets. People are not going to cancel Sky or BT Sports. People are going to buy the new shirts. They're going to go crazy on social media if and when Jadon Sancho is announced, or if Arsenal were to sign Jack Grealish. And I think I just have this fear that all this momentum could go to waste. As you say, thousands of people broke off and created FC United of Manchester, and you still have some of the world's most famous pundits say Man United fans are only angry because they're not at the top of the league right now. It does show how out of touch certain elements of football are with the fan bases.
I agree with you entirely. Should a Manchester United fan cancel their season ticket? No, they shouldn't. Because they love Manchester United. They do not love the Manchester United PLC, which is traded in New York, which is registered in the Cayman Islands, and it's owned in Florida. That's not the Manchester United they fell in love with. But what they can do is they can make other people connected to Manchester United know that their dissatisfaction. So boycott Adidas, boycott Tag Heuer, boycott Team Viewer, have nothing to do with Cola. And if the sponsors, and the commercial partners of Manchester United brought in £279 million last year, if these companies all of a sudden realise that we are linked to a toxic brand, then I think the Glazers will sit up and listen, because it's affecting both their top line and their bottom line. But it needs fans having to go through with these things, not to make idle threats. I think some of the coverage on Sunday was ridiculously sensationalist. I saw mums, dads, and kids there. I heard Manchester accents. I lived in Manchester for 40 years. I played for Trafford Cricket Club. I share a dressing room where half the fans are City, half the fans are United, and we've got one lad who supports Rochdale. Manchester is a fantastic football city, and I was actually proud of the fact that the fans turned up. Will there be a few idiots there who've had too much to drink and a gram of Coke who think that they're some form of Superman? Yes, there will. And that happens in any large gathering. The violence which took place was relatively isolated. One bloke kicking a door in is not the same as a riot, and people taking selfies on the pitch at Manchester United is not a mob. So the reaction of some broadcasters I felt was pretty shabby, but it allowed that section of the for all football fans are thugs viewpoint to have their day, which was a shame, because the broad intention was that bring to a wider viewership that the Glazers are toxic for Manchester United.
I totally agree. And just quickly before we lose you, I know you've got a very busy man at the moment. The 50+1 rule is something that a lot of fans are advocating for, a lot of fans want. How likely is that to be instilled within the English game, in your opinion?
I think it's a complete non-starter. And the reason why I say that, I did a valuation of just clubs in the Premier League last year. The collective value of the 20 clubs in the Premier League is around about £15 billion. If we were to give fan groups over 50% of ownership, then the owners, the existing owners, would be entitled to compensation, and we're talking, £7.5 billion. Well, if fans have got that amount of money, put that into grassroots football. You don't need 51% ownership of shares. What you need is representation. So what's to stop the government? What's to stop the Premier League from saying that we are aware of the systemic, the long-term problems in terms of the governance and responsibility and communication to fans within the game, and therefore we are going to change our own constitution to allow fans to make up a third of the board of directors of each club. Now, it doesn't mean that the fans will get their own way in terms of decision making, but it does mean that they will be part of that decision making process, and also they will be able to articulate what's happening at board level, provided it's not price sensitive, provided it's not critical issues. They can actually go back and communicate those to the broader fan base, and that would come at zero cost. It's shareholders don't make day-to-day decisions when it comes to football clubs. It's the board of directors. Get the fans on board, and if the Premier League's not prepared to do it, then what's the Football Association doing? And the Football Association just sits there like an ostrich and does nothing. And if the Football Association's not prepared to do it, then this fan-led review should introduce legislation to make sure, because Manchester United is bigger than the Glazers. It's bigger than any individual shareholder. It represents the history and the heritage and the culture of Manchester as a city. And therefore, the people who fell in love with Manchester United at the age of 6, the first time they saw them on telly, the first time they went to the Stretford End with their mum or dad, those people, their views should be taken into consideration, and at present they're being ignored.
Couldn't agree more. Kieran, we've put a link in the description below for your book. I forgot the name. I've just literally been the price.
I've forgotten the name as well, Terry. It's been one of those weeks. Don't blame you, mate.
The link in there earlier, The Price of Football, an amazing book. If you really want to learn about the real financial elements of football, it's all there. It's all there. Remember, net spend is a myth. I always say that whenever you're on here. Listen, really appreciate you coming on. I know how busy you are, buddy, and we'll speak again soon.
All the best, Terry. Thanks for the invite.
Take care, mate. Bye-bye. Viewers, we are going to be taking your calls. We wanted to get Kieran on because there's so much noise, there's so much talk at the moment going around Arsenal takeovers, Man United takeovers, a lot of sensationalism, and I wanted to get a financial expert on to the Terrace, because I know you all watch diligently, to kind of go through things, and we'll go over what he said. We are going to open up the lines for you to come on and have your say, but think about what was said today. He is an expert in finance. He's very nervous about these public negotiations of Daniel Ek, Thierry Henry, and the potential purchase. He doesn't feel at this time that an offer of £1.8 billion could be enough, unless legitimately the Kroenkes want out. If they want out, then of course it can happen. Equally, fan protests are a great start. He said he's very proud to see what was going on. He said you should ignore a couple of idiots who maybe had too much to drink, or maybe have partaken in some illegal drug use. And I'm talking about a very small number, 4, 5, 6, 7 people out of 10,000 that were acting like idiots the other day, that may have done one of those two contributing things, intoxicated themselves beforehand. They shouldn't mar what the fans have done. But as it stands right now, he doesn't feel that the Kroenkes or the Glazers are under too much pressure to sell. But I want to know what you're thinking and feeling here. Get Daniel Ek on. I'd love to be able to get him on, but I don't think that's going to be possible for the Terrace as it stands right now. Paul Burke, relax yourself. He literally was... I actually back what Kieran said. I guarantee you there's at least one. There's at least 1 or 2 idiotic Man United fans doing that at the weekend. That's just my opinion, and that's allowed to be expressed. Let's do some of your comments coming through here. Salam says, fans along with protest for new owners should also unite for a better football regulation or body, push the government to make changes as they already have issued a reference committee. And that's the point that Kieran was also pulling on as well. It's about legislation, it is about change, and it is about giving fans representation at board level, decision-making level at these football clubs. But let's go over the news with you one last time in relation to where we start today, which I think is going to be very, very important indeed. So, breaking news this morning, the Daniel Ek is to make a formal offer to buy Arsenal Football Club this week. This news is circulating. This news has picked up pace, and a lot of it is based on what Thierry Henry had to say in the last 12 hours or so. We'll take a look here. He says, I know a lot of people wanted to hear about it. It is true. Daniel was an Arsenal fan. He didn't say it for any publicity. He is an Arsenal fan for a very long time. He already, I'll give you something, reached out to the Kroenkes and already said himself that he had collated the funds to make sure that he can put in a good bid. Thierry Henry also went on to say they now need to listen. A lot of people have been screaming that they want the owners out. They are trying to offer a solution involving fans and getting the DNA back into the club. There needs to be a discussion, but he reached out. I think it is going to be long and not easy if it does ever happen. One thing that I want to reiterate is that Daniel will not move away. He will be there waiting to see if they want to sell. That is going to take a long time. We know what we want to do, but first and foremost, we need to make sure that we can take over if they are listening. And I think there's very strong words there from Thierry Henry, and it very much echoes what Kieran Maguire said today. Read the article through thoroughly, then consult or listen to what experts have got to say. A lot of financial experts are skeptical still. Some think the club's been up for sale, and we reported on that. Some are very skeptical that it is going to go through. What is a necessity? We've seen the news this morning that Manchester United's owners, the Glazers, they don't want to sell because they think over the next 5 to 10 years, the club could end up growing to a valuation of between 5 to 7 billion. So I'm seeing a lot of United fans on socials ask questions like, I don't get why the Glazers don't just sell and make a profit and leave, because they can make even more money in the next 5 to 10 years. In 15 years, the club's gone from being worth 7 to 800 million to being worth in sale price of north of 3 bill. As the money continues to grow, as it appears obvious to many people in the game that a Super League-esque break-off league or adjustment league or European tournament can and will be created. There are banks, there are broadcasters, there are media companies, streaming companies, social media content companies who are willing to pump even more money into football, billions extra a year, that could see clubs' income in the next 5 to 10 years increase by 2, 3, 4, 500 million pounds per year. The assets, the size of these clubs, the valuation of these clubs will grow. Land in the UK becomes more and more scarce. A small island with a growing population, that land holds value. These football clubs, especially like Arsenal, they are huge pieces of land on prime real estate. That will grow the valuation. You need to give the owners a reason to leave. That means an offer well and above valuation and the fans voting with their wallets to take away the money. Create a toxic brand in the short term for your football clubs that sponsors and broadcasters do not want to be associated with. If it becomes toxic, they look to move away. If you affect the bottom line, then you may then be able to get these leeches out of the football clubs that you don't want. On top of that, government legislation, FA Premier League legislation to protect clubs, give fans a voice, give them a vote, enable them to veto decisions, enable them to stop madness decisions from going ahead. Proper communication into fan groups so we know what's going on. We know what is at the forefront of our clubs. What our desires even being discussed at club level. These are what needs to happen. The protests have been, to a large degree, beautiful to see. It's amazing to see fans stand up for their clubs. But what is the next step? Are you willing to vote with your wallets? Are you willing to keep the energy up? That is the big question. We want you to phone in now and have your say as fans this morning. I've just shared the link now in the live comment section if you want to come on and have your say. George here says Arsenal fans need to get behind this and protest more at every home game and force the fraud Kroenkes out. I hear you on that. Matt says, I disagree with Kieran on the proposed takeover being too public. The Man City takeover was in 2008. Social media wasn't as huge as it is now. Plus, City were a relatively small club at the time. I hear what you're saying, Matt. I do hear what you're saying. I get you. But I do listen to Kieran as well as an expert in this. But I think it's a part of what he's talking about. If everything happens, the legislation, the fan protests, the fan boycotts, and maybe the public negotiations, something will happen. It's just Daniel Ek talking, but fans are buying the new tracksuit, new shirts, renewing season tickets, not protesting. I think it will fall upon deaf ears, in my opinion. But appreciate your opinions on this, buddy. Really, really do. Rad here says, Kroenke won't ever sell. That's why should he, when we have Arsenal fans 1 second screaming Kroenke out and the second after that renewing their season tickets? Ek will get Allegri is what New Tide thinks. We're going to go to some of your calls now. We're going to get Amin on the line to have his say. Before we go any further, though, make sure you've hit that like button for us, please. Right now, make sure you hit that like button for the Football Terrace. Let's get this done. Let's get this content out there right now, people. When I see Amin unmute his microphone, I'll get him on the air to have his. He's done that now. So, morning, Amin. Welcome to the Terrace. Who do you support?
Hi, Terry. I support Arsenal. Before I start, I just wanted to say big up to you. I think you're a really good YouTuber, and I love your shows. And I just want to say big up to you. Ignore the hate and just carry on with your good work.
Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate the support. What do you make of what Kieran had to say in the midst of this proposed £1.8 billion bid?
Okay, so with Arsenal, right? I've been supporting Arsenal. Well, I started supporting them in 2012, so I've never seen much success with Arsenal. But one thing about the Kroenkes, right? I know people may laugh at Arsenal, but Arsenal is the most is his best team he has, right? He has a few American teams, but Arsenal is his best team he has, like with terms of success with the FA Cups. So that's why I think he's not going to sell. And but right now, Arsenal have been a very losing club. So right now, our business in terms of money is not doing very well, especially with Corona. I don't know if you guys remember, but I think a few months ago, we also took down another loan because of our financials, because of the redundancy and stuff. So I don't think he's going to sell, like personally. And I think we're in such a bad situation right now where, personally, I think many people are going to be angry at me saying this, but Arsenal, if us winning the Europa League means we get Champions League football and Champions League money, and that means Kroenke won't sell, I don't want to win Europa League. I'd rather take this hit, not get Champions League football, and put even more pressure on the Kroenkes. I'm tired of this short-term success that this club has been having. It just blinds us. Last season, we've had it with the FA Cup. It blinded us with the whole transfer window. We needed more players than Partey. And I'm tired of this whole short-term success. If it means that we sell the Kroenkes under more pressure to sell the club, I don't want Champions League football.
Wow. Listen, I understand your logic that short-term pain could lead to long-term gain. This conversation come up Sunday with Man United fans. What if we got every single game between now and the end of the season called off? You may find with deducted points, you may find we lose out on Champions League football. But if that meant that if that was one of the reasons that could get the Glazers out, would it be worth it in the short term? Especially when none of us actually think that our clubs are going to win the Champions League or win Premier Leagues with how we're run. Maybe you're definitely onto something there. I'd love to see what other Arsenal fans think about what you've said. Thank you for the call, buddy. Really appreciate that, Amin.
Okay, thank you.
Top man, thank you. Do you agree with Amin? He's an Arsenal fan and he wants Arsenal to fail in their pursuit of Champions League football because he believes it is more likely to lead to the Kroenkes to sell. I want your views. I want your opinions on that. Salu here says facts. Facts. Absolutely backing that. On 1999 said the same, I would take the hit. There's a lot of Arsenal fans agreeing with Amin this morning in relation to this. Very, very interesting indeed. Brian's going to be on the show with us next. Once I see him unmute, we'll bring him on. That's how I know people are listening, if I see him unmute, and he's done that. Brian's here with us now. Brian, who do you support?
Oh, good morning, Terry. Good morning. I have to say, first of all, it's a pleasure to be on this show. I'm calling from Nigeria. I'm a very big Arsenal supporter. I've been supporting Arsenal for the past, I think, 12 to 15 years. Following up from the last caller, I was listening in on what he was saying about us not qualifying for the Champions League. He actually makes a very good point. Over the years, we've had some decisions that have been absolutely shocking. I mean, in terms of taking us to the very next level, the Kroenkes have failed in so many aspects. Like the absolutely ridiculous bid for Luis Suarez, 40 million and £1. I mean, when such decisions are being taken, it puts into question the whole reputation of the club itself. Eduardo was on yesterday, right? And he spoke about us signing Jack Grealish and how players view us in the long term. And that's exactly what Henry was hinting at when he said we have somehow lost or are beginning to lose our DNA. You know, when you speak of Haaland, Mbappe, there was a time when Wenger was so close to signing Mbappe, you understand? And we were so close to getting that extra player. We are like one player away from, challenging, absolutely challenging. But all the time, the Kroenkes seem to have, neglected those important details. Last summer, it was, oh wow, we ended up getting Partey and Gabriel. It kind of hyped the fans up, signing Partey on the last day. They did it. It's all strategic. But the long-term, DNA of the club itself, if we get into the Champions League, we're going to be battered, absolutely battered. And we'll end up falling either to the Europa League again, or we're just going to fall out. So in terms of the value of the club itself, if indeed we do qualify for Champions League, we will actually lose more supporters in the sense that we will just be that bogey, that team that is always going to be beaten if we get there. So in terms of like the Man U trajectory that you mentioned, the Man U is going to grow to 5-something billion. In terms of Arsenal, if indeed we do qualify, I don't see that. I see us as we're going to embarrass ourselves unless Kroenke decides to spend millions and addresses key areas of the field. If he's not going to do that, we're just going to go there and absolutely fall apart. And furthermore, players will less likely want to join the club. Of course, the lure of Champions League is there, but with Daniel Ek, there seems to be more trust as he approached the fans. There seems to be more trust as he also approached the legend. So there's a vision, there's a mission, there should be a goal and an objective set. So if he can bring that to the party, in the long term, Arsenal will definitely rise like the phoenix. But right now, under Kroenke, it's a double-edged sword. I don't think we should go through. But as an Arsenal supporter, I've been through highs and lows, and trust me, I just want to win. That's all.
Great call, mate. Well spoken, well articulated. Thank you very much, Brian, for calling in this morning. Appreciate that, my friend.
Welcome, Terry.
Take
care.
The good work. Thank you, mate. Yeah. And you know what? So many great points made there. Arsenal fans just want to see some ambition. They want to see the right players signed. They want to see their identity come back, behave like a big club. Stan here says, not a chance, bro. We need champions, I think, league football more than anything. And I'm sure the Kroenkes are going to sell up anyway. Hopefully, Dan Eck inbound. And everyone's going to have a different stand and a different viewpoint when it comes to this. It's whether or not you think they're actually going to spend, change, or sell. If you think Champions League football, a bit like Eduardo said, we'll see the Kroenkes change their approach, spend better, spend bigger, sign the players that are needed, then you want it. If you don't have faith in that, if you think that they're just going to pocket that money, as we've seen at Manchester United, it's been very open about it this morning, that Manchester United owners are set to take another £20 million dividend out the football club this year. It's £20 million just for them, for owning it, just taking it out the football club, not pumping it back in. The report that I mentioned earlier says the Glazers have no plan. This is in The Guardian today, that the Glazers have no plan to sell United and have a long-term vision to grow the club's valuation to £7 billion. If that's their ambition, and financiers are telling them with the trajectory of football, you're going to be there inside 10 years, you're going to sell it for that. If I got told right now that in 3 years' time, the house I live in will go from being worth X to being worth 3 times double that. If somebody wants to buy it from me now, I'm asking for what I know its future price is going to be. I'm not selling it. I'm not going to undercut myself now. That's why legislation is needed, so that football clubs are run for the betterment of the team, the betterment of the community, the betterment to the fans locally, nationally, and internationally, and not for the profit of these leech owners. Next on the show, we're going to have the Arsenal realist. Make sure you're all hitting that like button for us right now. Let's get this past 500 likes while we're live on the air. We heard from Kieran Maguire a little bit earlier on today. We'll get the clips out later on for people. We'll timestamp it as we always do as well, so you can go back and see what one of the world's leading financial experts, Kieran Maguire, has had to say. Also, his book is available right now, The Price of Football. The link to buy that is in the description below. So crack on with that after this stream. And you want to teach yourself and learn about the real financial elements of football, not what the Sun says, not net spend, not transfer war chest and all that mumbo jumbo. The real stuff. Get that book purchased. Next up on the show, Realist is here. What you saying, bro? Morning.
Yo, Terry. I think it's interesting to see the point of Arsenal fans, and me included. I think it's interesting, but obviously I've seen what Amin said and credit him. I think I would take that hit. I think going to the Champions League, personally, when you go into the Champions League, you have to have that mentality of winning it. You can't go to the Champions League to benefit from financial gain. You have to go into it with a mentality of winning it. And I think every club does, regardless of whether you're a big club or you're a small club, just entering it, it's the mentality of winning. And I don't think Kroenke does that. I think he goes into it with the mentality of seeing that financial gain. And I think to not be in a Champions League and to further go down in the league, because I don't see us, if Kroenke says, I don't see us even being in the top 10 squad wise, and I don't see him spending. I think to go down the league, I think it's a hit to the club's value, and I don't see him keeping the club anytime soon, especially with the financial situation that he's in here and in the US. I think building that $5 billion stadium, he's in debt over there. I think $1 billion worth of debt. I think he's in £200 million worth of debt here. The club possibly going further down the league. I don't see him just staying. I think I see him signing up.
And you could be right. You could be right if the money doesn't return. But if all the fans come back, they all buy the merchandise, if there is a toxic element around Arsenal right now because fans are angry. If that dissipates, sponsors will be on board. I think it's highly likely that there will be a Super League created. There will be a Super League in some capacity created. They will learn from this mistake. People have fallen on their swords, but they'll come back with a new proposal. And if that new proposal can benefit all clubs, they'll vote for it. But it could be one of those things where founding members are going for. You just got to think, if the Super League would have gone ahead, Arsenal's income would have doubled. Yeah. But all it takes for a new break-off league that's worth an extra £200 million a year to come in, and suddenly that asset starts to grow. I think keep the pressure, boycott the product, and maybe you'll get what you're saying there. But realistically, you go on, mate.
I just want to say, whether this owner comes in or not, don't be blinded by what this owner says. I don't believe for 1 second that he's going to instantly spend 100, 200, 150 million every single window. I don't think he's going to do that. I don't believe a businessman comes into a football club spending half of his worth, because Daniel Ek is worth 4 billion. I don't see him spending half of his worth just to spend what Roman does every single summer. And I don't see him being an instant success. So I am cautious with this owner, but I think it's a risk that we have to take regardless, because I think where the Kroenkes are going and where they're going to end up if they do stay. And I think with Ek, it's a mystery, and I think it's a mystery worth taking or worth going with.
There we go, mate. Appreciate you coming on and having your say, top man Abs. Thank you very, very much indeed. Arsenal fans with a variety of views and opinions on this today. South London's finest, one of our long-term viewers and moderators, says, I really would love to know what Arsenal's projected price will be in the next 5 to 10 years, especially now Arsenal are firmly mid-table. This is very true. This is very, very true. I just still see it getting bigger. They've got a huge global fan base. TV money is going to continue to go. What's going to happen as well in the next 5 years is a streaming company is eventually going to come in. You've already seen BT. BT Sport spent so much money getting the Champions League football exclusively, and it hasn't paid dividends for them. The likes of BT and Sky are paupers in comparison to Amazon, Disney, YouTube, Facebook, etc. One of these streaming companies is eventually going to buy substantial Premier League rights for exorbitant amounts of money. If a new break-off league is created, or a new league in general, I think the idea of a British Super League could happen. The Scottish game is in bits, whether people want to admit it or not. Amalgamating the two leagues, creating a British Super League. We've already got the Welsh team, a lot of the Welsh teams in with us. Why not the Scottish? You guys, Celtic and Rangers with their huge global fan bases to the brand is massive. You sell the rights, financiers get involved. You could see clubs getting an extra 100 to 150 million pounds a year with a project like this. All clubs, in one way, shape, or form. And these things are all going on behind the scenes. These conversations are still happening as we speak. The clubs are not going to just roll over and die on this Super League idea because they failed at first attempt. That's not how billionaires operate. They tend not to. They go away, they recollaborate. Right. How can we repackage this to make more people happy with it, to get what we want? And, I think in the next 5 to 10 years, Arsenal's valuation will double. I think it will double. There's no doubt about that. Next on the show, we're going to have Max on to have his say with us this morning. You can phone in as well. Just under 1,000 people watching, which is absolutely amazing. Please don't forget to share this stream on your social media platforms and subscribe and like. Hit that like button now. Help the Football Terrace. Support us in our endeavors. Max has just disappeared, so Max is not going to be on next. I'm not too sure where he disappeared to. But there we go. He hasn't come on. He hasn't come on board as it stands right now. I want to share with you the news again that came out this morning, because I want everybody that's kind of got involved to know what it is that we're talking about today. So the breaking news this morning is that Daniel Ek will make a formal offer to buy Arsenal this week. That is according to the mainstream media this morning. We know there's been an absolute variety of suggestions over the course of the past 2 to 3 weeks, really, about, are Arsenal for sale? Are they not for sale? Will it happen? Won't it happen? But the media are reporting this morning that it will. This all comes after Thierry Henry made it very, very public that the money is there. Thierry Henry made everybody very, very aware that Daniel is an Arsenal fan. This is not for publicity. The money is there. The money is there, and he has reached out to Arsenal legends to get involved with the running of the football club. That has happened. Whether or not the bid is going to be successful, we, of course, earlier on today had Kieran Maguire, one of the world's leading financial football experts, on the show. He broke that down for us and gave us his views and opinions, and he's very skeptical that this is going to go through for a number of reasons. The public nature of it, one. The secondary area was very much, what's the rationale? Look at how much they paid for the club based on what the bid's going to be. There's very small profits based on the world that they operate in as people. For us, a few hundred million is I'd love that, wouldn't you? I'd love 1 million. I'd love half a bar, let alone 1 million. But for people that are billionaires, the Kroenkes married into, look who they've married into. Arsenal is like a drop in the ocean compared to their family's wealth. So they want to make it an asset that's going to grow them considerably. So there's a lot of question marks over the sale of it. But we, as ever, want your thoughts, your feelings, your opinions. Malik here says, Terry, where is the Man United PSG preview? That will be, we're doing all the previews today at 5 o'clock. Problem we've had in the last day or so is there's been pressing news, big pressing news in relation to these takeovers, these protests, and we felt that needed to be covered. Today, 5:30, we're previewing both the games. We've got an amazing panel. Anita back on the football terrace. Mr. Queen a lot. She's here. Daniel's on. Jem's on. We're going to have a variety of guests previewing those games. We're live after PSG Manchester City tonight as well. So make sure you're tuning into the football terrace as always. The only YouTube channel that gives you a voice, that lets you phone in, that covers all the top 6+1 and the major European competitions. We're the only one that do that. So make sure you stay with us. Hit those like and those share buttons. No more calls as of now. So what I'll do is what I will actually do, let me share the link on the Discord server as well. If you've not signed up to our Discord server yet, my question is why? Why not? So I actually enjoy just sitting there watching you all talk to each other in there sometimes. It makes me die. It legitimately makes me die how funny it is. It really, really does. Oh, people make me die with their comments. People are so funny. All right, I'm just sharing the link now on the Discord page as well. I love reading. Sometimes I read the comments before. I'm going to share the link to call in the Arsenal chat room. So if you want to come on, it's going to be in the Arsenal chat room right now. If you want to have your say, go to the Arsenal chat room on Discord and give us a call. We want to hear from you. We're going to have Aaron Plummer on the line in a few moments. See a few more comments here. Read Itest's comment. Oh, what does he say? What's he said this morning? To put pressure on the Glazers, would you take a loss in the Europa League and get kicked out of the group stage of the Champions League next season? If it meant they were going to go, yes. The problem that I have with the idea of us getting games boycotted is if it's not going to change anything. So you don't want to cut your nose off to spite your face. That would be stupid. I think where Arsenal have got a little bit more gravity here is they've got someone who's willing to buy the club. So I think Man United fans need to be mindful of that element, that there is nobody right now that wants to buy Manchester United or that's public about wanting to buy Manchester United. But in principle, yes, I would, but there needs to be something tangible behind it. It isn't just a simple, straight yes or no answer for me. Next on the show, Aaron Plummer is here with us. Aaron, welcome to the Terrace. Who do you support?
I support Arsenal, and in my opinion, I agree with the point. I would rather not have Champions League football next season if we can get Kroenke out, because when we've been in the Champions League, right, we always get we always get knocked out in the round of 16. So why should we go into a competition just for money to get to the round of 16 and to get beat? We've only got to one final, and that was in 2006. We're nowhere near the level that we should be at to compete for the Champions League. Let's be honest. Europa League is our level, and we can't even win. And we are going into a massive game on Thursday, and if we don't win that, why should we be in the Champions League if we can't be where we are there? Why do we think we have the right to play Barcelona and PSG?
Listen, I totally get that logic, Aaron. I really, really do. I think that I understand why people would want to not so much fail at this level, but don't want to, if Arsenal go into the Champions League and there's no major improvements to this squad, if the management doesn't get better of the club, it could be a very embarrassing sort of 6 games in that Champions League format. Aaron, thank you very much for your call, mate. Really appreciate that, buddy. And look after yourself, and we'll speak to you again soon. Top man. Thank you. Next on the show, we're going to have Fixer is with us. Make sure that like button's being hit, people. Fixer's here. What you saying, buddy?
Yeah, how you doing, bro? You good?
Yes, mate. Yeah, I'm all good.
Yeah, so basically, the whole takeover thing, I think Arsenal are in a decent position. I mean, they like if that guy is serious and he wants to take over the club, and Kroenke or whatever his name is wants to sell. I think the issue is, does he want to sell? But in my opinion, I think he should sell, because it's not like Arsenal, like it was Man United, I understand, but Arsenal are not like second in the league. They're hardly in the Champions League, They're not really doing anything. They're not really pulling up trees anywhere. So this might be the best time to sell, really.
It may be. What did you make? I don't know if you were listening to what Kieran Maguire was saying earlier, though, that at the moment, most experts can't see why the Kroenkes sell at this moment in time. A lot more needs to happen from fans. These people that want to buy need to be very, very kind of unyielding in their want to buy. They've got to keep the pressure up.
Yeah, I mean, they do have to keep the pressure up. I mean, but what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, it comes down to one thing: is it worth selling the club? Is it gonna profit in the future, or should they cut its losses now? That's just what it comes down to. And I think but another thing I want fans to be really careful of is, we're so desperate to get rid of our owners and things, but what happens after that? What actually happens after that? Like with the Glazers is a different case, because they are the worst owners, because they actually started the whole European Super League. They're the worst, and they keep saying they spent 700 million net over 8 years, which if you break it down, it's not really a lot of money if you think about it, really, per season. That's like, what, 85, 90 million?
That lazy journalism from the likes of Graham Souness is just mind-boggling, because nobody's denying they haven't spent money. They're moaning they've spent it incorrectly, with no plan of action, with no philosophy, with no direction the club's moving in. They've wasted that money, along with just under £2 billion that's been taken out of the football club for dividends and financial payments. So you look at the money spent on incorrect players just since Fergie, plus all the money they've taken out of the club, you're getting close towards £3 billion of cash removed from the football club that hasn't seen benefit. So of course people are angry. Like it's a madness to me. Like I've always said this, but with Man United, it's like my kids need to eat. But instead of going out and buying nutritious food for my kids, I've gone and bought them a Ferrari. It's like, great, you spent money.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just ridiculous, mate. It really, really is. Bro, I appreciate you coming on, Fixer, and having your say, mate. Thank you very much. We'll speak to you soon. Top man. Thank you. Viewers, everyone who's tuned in this morning, a massive thank you to you. We're back later today with more stories, previews for the Champions League, match reviews for the Champions League as well. So make sure you stay tuned. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again